The statement is, the process of appointing the next Kerry senior football manager has commenced. The Kerry GAA Management Committee has appointed the following subcommittee who will revert with a recommendation at the earliest opportunity. They list the 5 names that you've mentioned there, and then they say no further comment will be made until this process has concluded. Like, you know that photo, the Joseph Stalin photo where one of his aides just mysteriously disappears? I can see like Peter Keane fading into the distance here. I saw someone on Twitter last night saying, I don't recall saying good luck with the Simpsons screenshot. And that seems to be what's happened here. It's if this is the end of Peter Keane, what a way to do it. What a brutal way to say, I don't recall saying good luck and goodbye, your time is over. He basically has to reapply for his job, I suspect, if he wants to be in the mix as the next Kerry manager. But this committee, from a Tony Lean article here that I'm reading, met last Wednesday. So it's 5 days later, they released this statement. So it's taken them quite some time to tell us that they have began appointing the next senior manager. So I wonder what's happened over the last 5 days. I mean, Jack O'Connor obviously has walked away from Kildare just before that window began. It was early on last week, so I wonder, has that really put the cat amongst the pigeons in regards to their search over the last little while? Either way, if this is the end of Peter Keane, this is not the right way to do it. This is the really, really bad way to communicate it, because, I mean, even if you think that All-Ireland medals are the only currency in Kerry and Peter Keane hasn't delivered that, still thank your manager if he's not going to be the next guy. Now, maybe they've had private conversations with him and we don't know for sure what's going on, and maybe Peter Keane is well within a shout of getting his job back and retaining his position. But from the outside looking in, it very much looks like he's been shown the back door here.
So Peter Keane has worked for Kerry at least since 2016, when he won the All-Ireland Minor Football Championship. So 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021. And instead of saying, you did great work, it's excellent, they're saying you have to reapply for the job at best. At best, that's what they're saying. Like, you've got to wonder about a county board that does its business like this. It lacks class. There's nothing classy about this statement. There's nothing transparent. There's nothing upfront. It does not speak to an organisation that is aligned. Like, you just say Peter Keane has been asked to reapply for the job.
Yeah,
you say that we're putting a trawl out there. Peter's term has come to an end. We're going to have an assessment of how well he's done. He's going to come in and tell us everything, but we're opening up the floor to see if anything else out there is any better. It's straightforward. It's honest. Everybody knows where you stand. We thank him and his team for the job that he's done over the last 3 seasons. We fell short. Just say we fell short of what our standards are or what our expectations are. He's going to be given the opportunity to come in, or we've already met with him and we've decided to open the process up.
Because they've had 5 days. That's why I bring up that point, is that this committee met in the middle of last week and they've had that opportunity to get clarity into Peter Keane's situation about whether or not he's interested in reapplying for his job, to get perfect clarity, to provide the public with perfect clarity. Instead, the country is talking about this in a sense of, has he been pushed out completely here, or what is the situation? And it's poor on Peter Keane from looking at this. But as you say, if you're making Peter Keane reapply for his job, there's no issue there.
No,
so that's fair enough. But just say it. It's the communication here which is probably let them down a little bit, I think. And it kind of goes for some of the for this committee as well. I mean, maybe this committee are I'm sure this committee are going through all the right steps in terms of reappointing a manager, but we just don't know this. We don't. I'm sure if you're looking at this statement and you're connected to this, you're like, God, maybe that statement doesn't really reflect too well on me. I don't really want my name associated with that. So, like, there's a list as long as my arm in terms of the people who could possibly come in, and I appreciate that it's a very complicated process if you want to try and sound out the best appointment for the job. Now, whether or not they should be in that position is a story for another day, because I feel that maybe the transition phase beyond Peter Keane perhaps hadn't been thought through before now. But still, I can accept how this might be a complicated process, but just tell us for sure what is going on here, because is Peter Keane Kerry manager right now? Is he the front runner? Is he done? I don't know. And he's hanging in limbo in a public sense.
Like, This isn't very difficult to do, is it? It's like this is not rocket science. This is not SpaceX. This is trying to find the next person whose job it is to manage the Kerry footballers. And there was somebody who had that job, and his term is over. Like, I think it's very straightforward to be able to communicate that properly. And I feel you feel on a human level sympathy for Peter Keane. And if he wins re-election after this, fair play to him.
Yeah.
But if they don't want him to win, they should say that. Like, that's the thing. You should just say, "Oh no, look, he's had his go. He can go off and come back different, chastened, better the next time. Go off and have a long soul-searching couple of seasons, and somebody else is going to have a crack now." But like, I don't know. I mean, who now is in the running for the Kerry job? Is Jack O'Connor immediately the favourite for this in your mind, Owen, or does Peter Keane still have, like, is Peter Keane, the possession 9/10 of the law? He ain't in possession anymore. That's absolutely clear.
Yeah,
so,
I think Jack O'Connor is the front runner right now. I think this all seems very protracted after the Jack O'Connor decision last year to walk away. The Jack O'Connor decision to walk away in the first instance, to me, didn't make a whole pile of sense. I obviously get the reasons that he outlined, but for me, if you can sustain those reasons with a team in Division 2 and to a Leinster final, you probably want to see the job through in Division 1 and maybe come closer to winning a Leinster Championship next year. So I definitely feel that he's interested in the Kerry job. Well, sorry, I don't feel that. I know that. He has said that he wants to come back and manage Manchester United. So we know that. And we know that he's not Kildare manager anymore. And we know that he's left a pretty attractive up-and-coming county, in my opinion. So I would say that he is definitely gunning for this role right now. And I would say that the delay tactics that we're seeing here from Kerry GAA would suggest that he is very much the front runner. But if you've got an All-Ireland medal, you are in the running for this job, as it turns out. The amount of names that have been thrown out there, and they all seem like relatively good suggestions. Every name you hear, you're like, oh, I could see that working, or he seems like a pretty smart guy. Like this is not a complete list, but the list of people who have been linked with this role in no particular order: Declan O'Sullivan, Seamus Moynihan, Tomás O'Shea, who's obviously off the table now, Jack O'Connor, Diarmuid Murphy, Maurice Fitzgerald, Kieran Donaghy, Tommy Griffin, Paul Galvin, Mike Quirk, Aidan O'Mahony, Pat O'Shea, Liam Hassett, Declan O'Keefe. And I accept that if you're going through all those names as somebody involved in the subcommittee, that is a very complicated process if you want to try and get through this list and actually find out who is the best coach in all these. I accept that, but again, it comes back to communication.
Presumably, there's a dream team element somewhere along the way, right? Are Jack O'Connor and Declan O'Sullivan, are they wedded at the hip? Do we see them as some kind of old and new?
See, this I don't know. And it also comes back to this idea about what dream team will be allowed to come in. So if you're appointing Jack O'Connor, for me, I like whether you love Jack O'Connor, hate Jack O'Connor, have no feeling one way or the other about Jack O'Connor, if he's the manager, he should be given full autonomy, I think, or at least the 90% of it to pick his backroom team, to pick the people that he wants to go into war with next year, because otherwise it's probably not going to work. Like Dooher and Logan got everything they needed last year when they came in. They got to pick their entire backroom team. They got to put the team around them.
Of course he will. Surely that's not even a discussion point, is it?
But with their last appointment, Peter Keane, and I think Donny Buckley is a fantastic coach. Everything I've heard about him is a fantastic coach. But Peter Keane didn't particularly want Donny Buckley. Donny Buckley was forced upon him.
Well, then he shouldn't have taken the gig. Do you know, you say, no, this isn't my time. It's not your night.
Yeah.
Not my night. It's not your night. I'm sorry, but I ain't coming in to take this job with your guys. It's me and my team, and that's it, because I have my ideas, and I'm not spending my time at training wondering if my message is being given out instead. Like, in fairness, that situation, I think, set Kerry football back significantly. Well,
look when it happened.
Well, they obviously wasted a lot of time having arguments. What's the point of that?
Well, he leaves at the start. He leaves just before the pandemic, and everything post-COVID has been not great for Kerry, let's face it. Their high point was 19, certainly under Peter Keane, and Buckley was in tow that year as well. So I think that you're right, maybe, that it did set Kerry back. And hopefully we do learn the full story over the next little while about what exactly happened in that breakdown.
And let me just... So, I don't think there's a chance in hell that Jack O'Connor would put up with that, because Jack O'Connor has the track record of having won All-Irelands and can say, look, lads, if that's what you want, that's what you want. You want somebody else. But you're not voicing a coach on me.
But I think that should be the case for every coach. I think everybody
should be, yeah.
Like if you are the manager, you should be given the responsibility to bring in the people that you want. Of course, you can make suggestions. Be like, this coach might work for you, but at the end of the day, it's your decision. This idea that you have to make compromises on what direction you want to bring a football team because of what coach somebody in the county board might want or what the perceived wisdom is doesn't sit right with me. And again, just to reiterate, I think Buckley is a phenomenal coach, and it would have been ideal if Peter Keane really did want it. Like, that would have been the best case scenario possibly, but it wasn't the case. And Peter Keane was the county board's guy, and if he's your guy, you've got to appreciate the guys that he wants in around him as well. So it's, I don't know, it doesn't sit well the way things have been handled over the last little while, even though. And maybe it just complicates things having so many different people at play. The one thing that really that's setting a tiny alarm bell off for me at the moment is that it doesn't seem like they knew where to go when Peter Keane failed. You know, who is the next man up if Peter Keane failed this year?
Do we? So, look, is there any revision after the All-Ireland football final? Mm-hmm. And is there any positive revision, or is it all negative? Is it like, oh, look what we lost, because if we'd beaten Tyrone, we definitely would have beaten Mayo? And I think a lot of people believe that, given the difference between Tyrone and Mayo wasn't really close in the end, and the difference between Kerry and Tyrone was a hair's breadth, ultimately, over the 100 minutes or however long the game was. Is there any revision that's like, geez, they're really close?
Yeah.
No?
Yeah, no, definitely. Or Saturday night was a good result for Peter Keane.
Or is the revision, my God, I can't believe how much we blew the opportunity, which is a negative? Do you see there's a difference between these two things?
Of course I do, and I think that the latter of those 2 points was definitely the prevailing mood.
I can't believe we blew the All-Ireland.
Was negative in the immediate aftermath of the game. Now, of course, 2 weeks pass and everybody softens their take a little bit over time, and then you see that performance and you see that, oh, Mayo also blew their opportunity in a more significant way. So maybe they shouldn't be looking through the prism of Mayo to judge their own successes, Kerry people, to be fair. But there is that sense after Saturday that it is like, okay, the best team in the country, Kerry to come within a point of them, but like that is like a relatively defeatist attitude as well. So I don't know, I think a stock maybe is a little bit higher on after Saturday than it was before Saturday. It still doesn't seem to have changed anything on this front. But just one point I'd like to make is that it does seem that, like, when it comes to appointing coaches at all levels of Kerry, that maybe something isn't right. Like, because you do hear stories of people who go for roles and, I guess, offer a massive contribution to Kerry GAA. For me, if you're an ex-player who's won All-Irelands and you're interviewing for a job within the county board, which is an underage coaching job or a manager's job, you're sitting down and you're offering something to the county. You're doing it on a voluntary basis. You feel that you have something to give. And when you interview for those jobs, there should be a level of respect about, even if you don't get the job, you should get a call back. You should be... Your mind should be tapped into a little bit to see what are your plans over the next couple of years. We don't have a job for you right now. We don't think you're the best person for this job. Would you perhaps be interested in coming in on the backroom team? Would you be interested in getting involved with some of the development squads? What would you like to do to get involved with Kerry GAA? Because if you're a young person who's just come out of the game over the last 5-10 years and you haven't coached in the setup yet, the county board don't know whether or not you're a good coach. And I think trying to bring as many of those people into as many roles as possible is the only way you're going to find out who is actually the best coach out of the list of the 12 names that I mentioned there earlier on. And it seems that maybe they haven't actually done enough to find out who actually is the best, whereas Offaly are going to have a better idea of how good a coach Tomás O'Shea is than Kerry will in 12 months' time. Armagh currently have a better idea of how good a coach Kieran Donaghy is than Kerry GAA do right now. I'd like to know if either of those two people were offered roles even as selectors at underage levels over the past year or so, and I'd like to know what they did to tap into those two brains, because the one information that we do know for sure now is that those two guys want to be inter-county managers. Like, you don't get involved as a selector with Armagh and Offaly unless you've got designs on being an inter-county manager one day. But they've been left slip away to a certain point. And I get that, of course, being a selector with senior inter-county teams is a bigger job than an underage gig with Kerry. I get that totally. But did they do everything to ensure that brain power wasn't lost in the first instance?
All right. If you're a Kerry fan, if you're a fan of other counties, a supporter of other counties, and you'd like to get involved in this conversation, we'd love to hear from you. 087 9 180 180 is the WhatsApp number.